My name is Elara, and I was never meant to be loved. I was the third daughter in an African family that wanted only sons. From the day I was born, my parents treated me like a debt they never asked for. While my sisters were dressed in silk and jewels, I was given rags. While they dined at the table, I ate scraps outside with the dogs. I should have been numb by now. I should have accepted my place as nothing more than a shadow in my own home. But nothing could have prepared me for the night my life was sold away. It began with a whisper. My father sat hunched in the candlelight, muttering to my mother about money, about debts, about the sickness that had drained my sister's life and their fortune along with it. Then came the knock. A tall man cloaked in black stepped into our house as though it belonged to him. His presence silenced the room. His voice was smooth, deep, and cold as iron when he spoke. "I bring an offer," he said. "Gold enough to save your family. In exchange for her." And then his finger pointed to me. For a moment I thought they would laugh, tell him to leave. But instead, my mother's lips curled into the first smile she had given me in years. "How much?" she asked. The man placed a small chest on the table and opened it. Gold coins glimmered under the dim light, brighter than anything we had ever owned. My father's eyes widened. His hands trembled as he reached for it, as if the gold were already his. My heart froze. "Wait," I whispered, stepping back. "What do you mean in exchange? Who are you giving me to?" The man's gaze locked onto mine, and I felt my stomach twist. His eyes were an unnatural shade. Too dark, too endless, like they swallowed light itself. "To your future husband," he said simply. I shook my head violently. No, I won't." The crack of my father's hand silenced me. Pain exploded across my cheek as I collapsed to the floor. "You will obey," he hissed. "For once in your useless life, you will be useful." Tears stung my eyes, but I bit them back. I had learned long ago that crying only made them angrier. The cloaked man turned, his cloak swirling like smoke. "Tomorrow night," he said, "the carriage will come for her. Prepare her." And just like that he was gone. But the gold, oh, the gold remained. My parents stared at it with greedy hunger, already forgetting that their daughter had just been sold like cattle. That night, I lay on the cold floor of the storeroom where they locked me in, my body trembling, my mind spinning. Tomorrow I would be taken away. Tomorrow I would be given to a stranger. But the question that kept me awake was the one no one dared to ask. What kind of man pays gold for a bride he has never seen? The next evening, the sky bled red with sunset when the sound of wheels thundered outside our house. The carriage was black as midnight, its doors carved with strange symbols that seemed to shimmer when the light touched them. 2 horses pulled it, but their eyes glowed faintly red, as though they weren't horses at all. My stomach knotted as my parents dragged me from the storeroom, shoving me into a plain dress. My hair was uncombed, my face bruised from my father's slap the night before. "Don't embarrass us," my mother hissed. "Bow your head. Don't speak unless spoken to." As if they cared about appearances now. They were already rich from my misery. The door of the carriage opened with a slow, eerie creak. Inside, the cloaked man from last night sat waiting. He didn't greet me. He didn't even look at me. He simply gestured. "Get in." My hands trembled as I clutched the doorway, but one sharp glare from my father was enough. I climbed inside, my heart pounding like a drum. The man shut the door behind me, sealing me into the darkness of the carriage. The horses lurched forward, and the house I had known all my life began to fade into the distance. I glanced back one last time, desperate, hoping that someone, anyone, might run after me. But my parents stood in the doorway, smiling as they counted their coins. My throat burned. I turned away. The cloaked man finally spoke, his voice calm but commanding. "You will follow the rules." I swallowed hard. "What rules?" His head tilted slightly, the shadows of his hood hiding his face. "First, you must never leave the estate. Second, you must never refuse him. Third—" His voice dropped lower, darker. You must never, under any circumstance, watch him at night. A chill crawled down my spine. What happens at night? I whispered. For the first time he looked at me. His eyes glowed faintly red in the shadows, not human at all. You'll pray you never find out. The rest of the ride was silence, broken only by the pounding hooves and my racing heartbeat. The road twisted endlessly, the woods around us growing darker, thicker, as if swallowing the world whole. Finally, the carriage slowed. I leaned forward, peering out the window, and my breath caught. We had arrived at a towering castle. Its black stone walls stretched so high they vanished into the storm clouds above. Spires pierced the sky like daggers. The gates groaned open on their own, as if unseen hands pulled them wide. This wasn't a home. It was a prison. The carriage stopped, and the cloaked man opened the door. "Out," he said. My legs shook as I stepped down onto the cobblestones. The air smelled of roses and ash, sweet and suffocating. 2 guards stood waiting, their armor black as obsidian. They bowed not to me but to something behind me. Turned slowly. And there, at the top of the grand staircase, stood the man I had been sold to. Handsome. His hair black as night, his suit elegant, his features sharp as if carved from marble. For a fleeting moment, relief washed over me. He looked human, but then he smiled, and for a split second his teeth were too sharp. The grand hall was a cathedral of shadows. A table stretched farther than my eyes could follow, lined with candles that flickered though no wind stirred. Velvet drapes cascaded from ceilings so high they seemed to vanish into the dark. And at the far end he waited, the man I had been sold to. He rose when I entered, his tall frame cloaked in elegance. His black suit shimmered faintly under the candlelight, embroidered with crimson thread that looked almost like veins. His hair fell neatly around his sharp jawline, and his eyes, oh, his eyes, burned an unnatural shade of crimson, like dying embers refusing to fade. "Welcome," he said, his voice deep, smooth, and echoing slightly, as though the walls themselves carried it. "Elara, is it?" I swallowed hard, forcing my head to nod. He gestured to the chair beside him. "Sit." The cloaked man guided me to the seat and disappeared into the shadows. Now it was just the 2 of us, and the silence between us pressed heavy on my chest. A tray of food appeared before me. Steaming meats, roasted vegetables, golden bread, and a goblet filled with dark wine. My stomach twisted with hunger. I hadn't eaten since yesterday. But when I glanced at him, his plate was empty. "You're not eating?" I asked, my voice trembling. His lips curved faintly, almost amused. "I don't need to." I hesitated. "Why?" He leaned forward, his crimson eyes never leaving mine. "Because tonight it is you who must be fed. I am satisfied, simply watching." My hand shook as I lifted the fork. Every bite felt like swallowing stones under his gaze. He didn't blink, didn't move, didn't breathe. Finally I couldn't take it. "Why me?" I whispered. For the first time his expression shifted. His lips curled into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Because you were unwanted. And the unwanted belonged to me." A chill crawled through my veins. Before I could respond, the candles flickered violently. The air thickened. A low growl echoed from somewhere deep within the castle. He tilted his head, his smile sharpening. "It's almost nightfall," he murmured. "You should finish quickly. You don't want to see me when the sun sets." The fork slipped from my hand. I didn't dare ask why. 'Cause somehow, already knew. That night I couldn't sleep. The castle was too silent, the kind of silence that pressed against your ears until you swore you heard whispers hiding beneath it. I tossed on the silk sheets, but every creak of wood, every flicker of candlelight made my skin crawl. The words of the cloaked man returned to me, echoing like a curse. Never leave the estate. Never refuse him. Never watch him at night. And yet, the last rule was the one that gnawed at me. Why not watch him at night? The clock in the hall chimed midnight, and then I heard it. A sound that wasn't silence. A deep, guttural growl vibrating through the walls. I sat up, heart hammering. It came again, closer, heavier, like something pacing the corridors. Against every instinct screaming at me to stay in bed, I slipped quietly to the door. My bare feet touched the cold stone floor, the night air biting against my skin as I stepped into the hallway. The torches along the walls flickered as though afraid of what stalked the shadows. And then I saw him. Not Kalen, the man I'd been forced to marry, but something else. At the end of the corridor. His body was twisting, writhing. His suit tearing as black veins surged across his skin. His hands clawed at the walls, nails elongating into talons. His back arched unnaturally, bones snapping, rearranging. His head lifted, and I saw the horns. 2 jagged curling horns ripping through his scalp as his jaw cracked wider, too wide, lined with sharp, inhuman teeth. And those eyes, no longer crimson. Now they glowed a fiery, hellish red. I clamped a hand over my mouth, but a gasp slipped through my fingers. He heard me. The creature snapped its head toward me, nostrils flaring, chest heaving with monstrous breath. For a moment I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. My body was ice, my legs stone. Elara! The voice wasn't human anymore. It was layered, distorted, as though 100 voices spoke my name at once. My heart nearly stopped. He lunged. I bolted back into my room, slamming the door, fumbling with the lock as tears blurred my vision. His growl shook the walls, rattling the handle. Then silence. I collapsed to the floor, gasping, sobbing silently into my hands. And through the silence, a whisper slid beneath the door. Smooth, mocking, inhuman. I told you not to watch. When I woke, sunlight streamed faintly through the velvet curtains. For a fleeting second, I thought it had been a nightmare, just another cruel dream born from fear. But then I saw the scratches. Deep gouges carved across the heavy wooden door. Claw marks that hadn't been there before. It was real. All of it. My chest tightened as the door creaked open. My body stiffened, bracing for the beast. But it wasn't the monster. It was him. Kalen. Perfectly human. His black suit pressed. His hair immaculate. Not a single trace of the creature I had witnessed last night. Only his eyes betrayed him, still glowing faintly, as if embers refused to die out. He stepped inside, his presence filling the room like smoke. His gaze slid over me, lingering on my trembling hands clutching the blanket. "You watched," he said simply. My throat tightened. I didn't mean to, He cut me off with a raised hand. His movements were calm, deliberate, but his voice carried an edge that sent a shiver down my spine. "You broke the rule. And in this place, broken rules carry consequences." I shook my head, tears welling. "Please. I didn't know. I didn't understand what you are." He tilted his head slightly, almost amused. "What I am." Slowly he crossed the room, each step unhurried, predatory. He stopped in front of me, and for the first time since I had arrived, he bent down, close enough that I could feel the cold of his breath against my cheek. "What I am," he whispered, "is your husband." Flinched. "You're not human." His lips curved into a sharp smile. "No, I'm not. And that is why you were given to me. Because you were unwanted. 'Cause no one else would keep you. And now..." His fingers brushed along my jawline, cold, possessive. "You belong to me." A sob broke free from my chest, but I refused to let the tears fall. "I am not a possession," I spat, my voice trembling but fierce. His smile widened, teeth flashing too sharp for a man. "You will learn, little bride," he said softly, "that in this house you are only what I say you are." And with that, he stood and walked toward the door. Before leaving, he glanced over his shoulder, his crimson eyes glinting like fire. "Tonight," he murmured, "you will dine with me again. And this time, you will not look away." The door shut behind him with a heavy click, sealing me in. And for the first time in my life, I realized the truth. I hadn't been married. I had been claimed. The dining hall looked different that evening. The same endless table stretched into shadows, the same candles flickered along its length. But this time, the air was heavier, colder, as though the castle itself had been holding its breath all day, waiting for night to fall. Kalen was already seated when I arrived. His crimson eyes locked onto mine the moment I entered, a predator watching its prey step willingly into the cage. "Sit," he said. My feet carried me forward, though every part of me screamed to run. The same silver platters of food appeared before me, steaming meats, golden bread, a goblet filled with dark red wine. My stomach knotted, but hunger gnawed at me, and my hands trembled as I reached for the fork. And again, his plate was empty. "You're not eating," I whispered, my voice barely audible. He leaned forward, folding his hands beneath his chin. "I told you before, little bride. Watching you is enough." The words slid over me like ice. I forced myself to take a bite, then another, the silence suffocating as his eyes never left me. Finally, I couldn't bear it. "Why are you doing this to me?" His lips curved faintly, almost in amusement. "Doing what?" "Keeping me here. Watching me like I'm—" I swallowed hard. "Like I'm not human." He tilted his head. "You are human. That's why you were sold. That's why you were given to me." My fork clattered onto the plate. "What does that mean?" For a long moment he said nothing. Then, slowly, deliberately, he rose to his feet. His shadow stretched long across the hall, warping under the candlelight until it seemed larger than his body, monstrous. He circled the table with unhurried steps, each one echoing in the silence. I gripped the edge of the chair, my heart thundering as he came to stand behind me. His hand slid onto my shoulder, cold and heavy. "It means," he murmured against my ear, "that your love is the last thing keeping me alive." Froze. "What?" He chuckled softly, the sound low, dangerous. "The curse, Elara. The one that binds me. Without you, it wins. And when it wins, it takes not only me, but you as well." My breath caught. "Me?" "Yes," he whispered, his lips close enough that I felt the words against my skin. "You were bound to me the moment you stepped into this castle. If I fall, you fall. If I die—" His grip tightened. "So do you." The blood drained from my face. My body trembled, but I forced my voice to hold. "Then release me." His hand slid down my arm, cold fingers brushing mine, claiming them. "I can't," he said, "because I don't intend to die." He turned me in my chair to face him, his crimson eyes burning with something fierce, desperate, and terrifyingly human. "And neither do you." Sleep didn't come that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw horns splitting through skin, teeth glinting in the dark, crimson eyes burning like fire. And his words, "If I die, you die," echoed until my chest tightened with every breath. The castle was alive. Felt it. The walls pulsed faintly like veins beneath stone. The air shifted with unseen breaths. And the shadows watched me. I sat by the cold fireplace, hugging my knees when I heard it for the first time. A whisper. "Elara!" My head snapped up. The room was empty. The candles flickered. My skin prickled. "Elara, bride of the cursed." My blood froze. The voice wasn't Kalen's. It was softer, layered, like dozens of voices overlapping. It came from the walls, from the corners where the light didn't reach. I stood slowly, heart hammering. "Who's there?" The whispers grew louder, weaving together into a haunting chorus. "Bound to him, bound to death. Only love can break the chain." My breath quickened. I pressed back against the wall, shaking my head. No, this isn't real." A shadow slithered across the floor, long and twisting, though nothing stood there to cast it. It coiled toward me, stretching like fingers reaching for my ankles. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over the chair. My throat burned with a scream I swallowed before it escaped. The whisper shifted, sharper now. Beware his brother, beware the bloodline. Froze. Brother! Before I could question further, the door burst open. Kalen stood there, framed by moonlight. His crimson eyes narrowed, his jaw clenched. What are you doing out of bed? My lips parted, but no sound came out. The shadows vanished instantly, retreating like smoke sucked into the walls. He crossed the room in 2 long strides, seizing my wrist. His grip was firm, unyielding. I told you, he hissed, his voice low, furious. Never wander at night. I heard something, I stammered. The walls, they whispered to me. His eyes darkened, glowing hotter, angrier. The castle lies. Twists your mind. If you listen, it will consume you. But there was something in his face, a flicker of fear. Not for me listening, but for what I had heard. The voices mentioned your brother, I whispered. For the first time, Kalen's composure cracked. His grip tightened, and his voice dropped into something deadly. Do not speak of him, he growled. Not in this house. Not ever. And though his words were final, the shadows had already planted their seed of doubt in me. Kalen wasn't the only monster in this story. There was another. The storm came without warning. Thunder cracked above the castle, shaking the walls as if the heavens themselves were at war. Lightning flared, throwing the halls into jagged bursts of white. I pressed against the window of my chamber, unease coiling in my stomach. Then came the roar. It wasn't thunder. It was something alive. My door slammed open. Dorian, Kalen's silent guard, stood there, armor slick with rain. His face was grim, pale. Come, he barked. He needs you. Before I could speak, he pulled me into the hall. We ran through corridors that seemed to stretch longer with every step, shadows curling along the walls like claws. When we burst into the courtyard, my breath caught. Kalen lay on the stone steps, his suit torn, blood soaking the ground beneath him. His chest heaved with shallow breaths, crimson eyes dimming as if the fire inside him was dying. I dropped to my knees beside him. What happened? Dorian's jaw clenched. The shadows turned on him. The curse is consuming him faster than it should. Kalen's hand twitched, reaching weakly toward me. His voice was a rasp. Elara! Tears burned my eyes. What do I do? Tell me what to do. Dorian hesitated. Then his gaze hardened. He needs blood. Yours. My heart stopped. What? It is the only thing that binds him to this world. The bride's blood keeps the curse at bay. I shook my head violently. No, I can't. Kalen's body convulsed, a guttural growl tearing from his throat. His skin cracked with black veins, spreading like lightning across his chest. His horns began to push through again, jagged, monstrous. If you don't, Dorian snapped, you both die tonight. The world spun around me. My breath came shallow, frantic. My parents had sold me into this nightmare, and now I was supposed to bleed for the very monster who claimed me. Kalen's crimson eyes found mine, dim but desperate, pleading. Elara, he whispered again. My hands shook violently as Dorian unsheathed a dagger and pressed it into my palm. Do it. I stared at the blade, then at Kalen, writhing, gasping for breath as the curse tore him apart. This was madness, pure madness. And yet, some part of me, the part bound by the curse, the part that already felt his heartbeat echo in mine, knew I couldn't let him die. With tears streaming down my face, I pressed the blade to my palm and sliced. Pain flared. Blood welled. I held my trembling hand to his lips. First nothing. Then Kalen's grip shot up, clutching my wrist with inhuman strength. His mouth closed over the wound, fangs piercing deeper than the blade had, drawing the blood from me in hungry pulls. I cried out, but I didn't pull away, because in that moment, his eyes flared alive again, burning crimson, blazing with fire, and the black veins crawling across his body began to recede. The storm above roared louder, as though the world itself rebelled against what I had just done. When he finally released me, my hand throbbed, weak, drained. He looked at me with something fierce, something unspoken, something almost human. And then he whispered, voice rough, stained with my blood. "You're mine now, in more ways than one." The next morning, I awoke weaker than I'd ever felt in my life. My hand ached, bandaged in black silk. My body trembled from the memory of his fangs piercing my skin. But Kalen lived. When I opened my eyes, he was sitting across the chamber, watching me. His posture was perfect, still as stone. His crimson eyes locked on mine. "You saved me," he said simply. I swallowed hard. "You forced me." A faint smile curved his lips. "And yet, you did not resist." I turned away, my chest burning. I hated him for being right. Later that evening, he appeared at my door again. His hand extended. "Come." "I'm not going anywhere with you," I whispered. His eyes narrowed. "You are bound to me, Elara. Refuse, and you suffer with me." My stomach twisted. I hated this cage of choices that weren't choices at all. But I took his hand. His skin was cold, but the grip was steady, commanding. He led me through winding corridors until we reached a door carved with silver vines. When he pushed it open, my breath caught. The garden was unlike anything I had ever seen. Moonlight poured through an open ceiling, bathing the space in silver glow. Black roses bloomed in twisted patterns along the stone walls, their petals shimmering faintly as though dusted with stars. Strange flowers glowed softly in hues of violet and blue, pulsing faintly, alive. A fountain stood at the center, its water black as ink, yet reflecting the moon like polished glass. It was haunting. It was beautiful. "What is this place?" I whispered. "The Garden of Eternal Night," Kalen said. His voice was softer here, almost reverent. "It blooms only under the moon. It was created by the curse that binds me." I knelt by one of the glowing flowers, my fingers brushing a petal. It pulsed brighter beneath my touch, responding as though it knew me. "Why show me this?" "Yes." Kalen's gaze lingered on me, unreadable. "Because despite what you think, Elara, not everything bound by darkness is without beauty." For a moment, I saw something different in him. Not the monster, not the captor, but a man worn thin by loneliness, carrying a curse heavier than chains. But the moment shattered when the whispers returned. "Elara!" My head snapped up. The voices swirled through the garden, louder here than anywhere else. The shadows stretched unnaturally, curling like smoke around the roses. "Beware the brother, beware the heir of ash." Kalen's face hardened instantly. His hand shot out, gripping my wrist, dragging me to my feet. "Enough!" he snapped at the garden itself, his voice thundering. The whispers fell silent. The flowers dimmed, trembling as though afraid. He turned on me, eyes burning. "Do not listen to them. Do you understand?" I stared at him, heart racing. "Why are they warning me about your brother? What are you hiding?" His jaw clenched, his voice sharp. "Do not ask questions you are not ready to hear the answers to." And with that, he pulled me from the garden, slamming the silver door shut behind us. But as we walked away, the whispers still echoed in my mind. "Beware the brother." I thought I had left my family behind. I thought their greed had ended the night they shoved me into that black carriage, trading me for gold. I was wrong. It happened on the third night after the garden. Kalen had gone somewhere beyond the castle walls, leaving me confined to my chambers with only shadows for company. The silence was unbearable. I paced, restless, until the sound of footsteps echoed in the hall. Not Kalen's. Lighter, quicker, familiar. Froze. My door creaked open. And there she was, Elara, my older sister. Her silk gown shimmered in the candlelight, her golden hair coiled perfectly as ever. But her smile was sharper than I remembered, laced with malice. "Hello, little Elara," she purred, stepping inside. "Or should I call you Demon's Bride?" My blood ran cold. How are you here?" She laughed softly, circling the room, trailing her fingers along Kalen's desk as if she owned it. "Did you really think our parents would sell you and never look back? Gold runs dry quickly. They wanted more. And when the cloaked man came again, I followed. I staggered back. Why would you come here? Do you have any idea what he is?" Her smile widened. "Oh, I know. And I don't care. Power is power, Elara. I'd happily warm the bed of a monster if it meant wealth, jewels, servants at my feet." Tears stung my eyes, but anger burned hotter. "They sold me to save you. And now you stand here mocking me." She leaned closer, her perfume sweet and choking. "No, sister. They sold you because you were worthless. And now you're nothing more than a leash around a beast's neck." My hand trembled at my side. "Leave. Before Kalen finds you." Her laughter rang through the chamber, sharp and cruel. "Oh, but that's the point. I want him to find me. To see what he could have had instead of you. Perhaps he'll regret settling for scraps when he sees what a real bride looks like." The door slammed open, and Kalen's presence flooded the room like smoke and fire. His crimson eyes locked instantly on Elara. For the first time, my sister's smile faltered. Kalen crossed the room in 3 long strides, his gaze burning with fury. "Who let you into my house?" Leora's lips trembled, but then she straightened, her false courage flashing. "I came willingly. I can give you more than Elara ever could." The silence was suffocating. My heart thundered in my chest. Kalen's jaw clenched. His voice, when it came, was low and lethal. "You reek of greed." He raised his hand, and the shadows in the room writhed, twisting toward her like serpents. Leora's bravado cracked. She screamed, stumbling backward, clawing at the air as the shadows coiled around her wrists, her throat. "Kalen, stop!" I cried, rushing forward. "She's my sister." His crimson eyes snapped to me, fire blazing in them. For a moment I thought he might ignore me entirely, but then his hand lowered. The shadows loosened, retreating into the walls. Leora collapsed to the floor, gasping, shaking with terror. "Leave," Kalen said coldly. "And tell your parents if they send you again, I will send them your corpse in return." My sister scrambled to her feet and fled, her silk gown dragging across the floor. The door slammed behind her, and silence returned. I stood frozen, trembling as Kalen turned to me. His gaze softened slightly, but his voice was sharp. "Do you see now, Elara?" he asked. "Your family never loved you. They never will. But here." He stepped closer, his hand brushing my cheek with chilling gentleness. "You are mine, and I will never let you go." My tears finally fell, hot and silent, because in that moment I knew he was right. I was truly, utterly alone. The storm hadn't passed. It seemed to cling to the castle itself, black clouds circling endlessly above, lightning splitting the sky like veins of fire. Every night since my sister's intrusion, the air grew heavier, charged with something violent, as though the curse was restless, hungry. Kalen had been silent, withdrawn, pacing the halls like a caged beast. His crimson eyes burned brighter, his veins darker, his shadow longer with each passing day. That night the whispers came again. Test her, love." I jolted awake to the sound of a crash. My chamber door swung open. Dorian burst inside, blood streaking his armor. "Elara, quickly. He's losing control." Fear coiled in my stomach as I ran after him, my bare feet slapping against the cold stone. We descended into the lower halls, where the air grew thick with the stench of ash and blood. And there he was. Kalen writhed on the ground, his body twisting, black veins spreading across his chest, horns tearing through his skull. His crimson eyes burned like molten fire, but this time there was no recognition in them. He was slipping. The curse was winning. "Elara!" Dorian shouted over the thunder. "He needs you. If you can't anchor him, he'll be lost forever." My heart pounded. "Anchor him how?" Dorian's jaw clenched. "Show him your loyalty. Stay by him. Choose him even now, when he's nothing but a monster. If he believes you'll never abandon him, the curse weakens. My legs trembled. I wanted to run, to hide, to deny that I had any part in this nightmare. But Kalen's growl split the air, deeper, darker, as his claws scraped against the stone, tearing gouges into it. Elara. His voice was broken, monstrous, 100-layered tones. Don't leave me. Tears burned my eyes. He was terrifying. Every instinct screamed at me to flee. But if Dorian was right, running meant his end, and mine. I fell to my knees beside him. His claws slashed dangerously close, but I forced myself forward, pressing my hand against his chest. His heart thundered beneath my palm, wild, unstable. I'm here, I whispered, my voice trembling but firm. I'm not leaving. His eyes snapped to mine, burning red. The growl in his throat shook me to my core. I don't care what you become, I said louder now, though my tears spilled freely. I don't care what curse binds you. You're mine as much as I'm yours. And I won't abandon you. For heartbeat, nothing. Then the shadows recoiled. The black veins retreated beneath his skin. His horns cracked and withdrew. His claws dulled. Kalen collapsed into my arms, trembling, sweat dripping down his face. His breath came ragged, but his eyes, still crimson, were human again. You! His voice was raw. You stayed. I nodded, choking on a sob. His hand rose, weak but steady, fingers brushing my cheek. Then perhaps there is hope. Before I could respond, the thunder outside roared, shaking the castle. The whispers slithered through the air again, colder than ever. Beware the brother, beware the heir of ash. Kalen's face darkened. His hand dropped. And I knew this trial wasn't over. It was only the beginning. The storm lingered, but inside the chamber, the fire burned low. Shadows flickered across the walls, curling like silent witnesses. Kalen lay on the bed, pale and exhausted from the trial, his chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. His body trembled with the remnants of the curse, veins faintly dark beneath his skin, horns threatening to push through again. I sat beside him, my hand still pressed against his chest, feeling the thrum of his heart. It beat wildly, uneven, as though unsure whether it belonged to man or monster. You shouldn't have stayed, he whispered, voice raw. You should have run. Tears stung my eyes. If I had, you would be gone. His lips curved faintly, though it wasn't a smile. And what would that matter to you? You were sold to me, bound by force. Why should my death mean anything? The words cut deep. 'Cause he was right. And yet, something inside me refused to accept them. I leaned closer, my voice trembling. 'Cause if you fall, I fall too. No. I don't want to die. His crimson eyes flickered open, locking onto mine. Then what do you want, Elara? Question stole my breath. For so long, no one had cared what I wanted. Not my parents, not my sister. But here in this cursed place, with this cursed man, it mattered. The fire crackled softly, casting gold light across his sharp features. And in that fragile moment, I realized the truth I had been fighting. I didn't want him to die. Not because of the curse. Not because of my own survival. But because somewhere beneath the monster I had glimpsed a man. Broken, lonely, desperate to be loved. My hand trembled as I lifted it, brushing the damp hair from his forehead. His breath caught, shallow, uncertain. Elara. His voice was warning and plea all at once. And before I could lose my courage, I leaned down. Our lips met, soft at first, tentative, but burning with fire that wasn't entirely mine. His hand rose, seizing the back of my neck, pulling me closer as though afraid I'd vanish if he let go. The taste of him was bitter, sharp, like smoke and iron. Yet beneath it, there was warmth, something painfully human. The fire roared higher, flames leaping violently, shadows shrinking back as though the castle itself reacted to our touch. The black veins on his chest glowed faintly, then receded as if my kiss had driven them away. When I finally pulled back, gasping, his crimson eyes blazed with something new. Not hunger, not fury, but wonder. "You kissed me," he whispered. I swallowed hard, trembling. I had to. His lips curved into a sharper smile. "No, little bride. You wanted to." My cheeks burned, my heart racing. I wanted to deny it, to scream at him. But deep down I knew he was right. And that terrified me more than any monster ever could. The night after the kiss, I couldn't sleep. My lips still burned from his. My heart still thundered with the memory of his crimson eyes softening. If only for a moment. Should have been impossible. A monster couldn't be tender. The whispers began again. But this time they weren't from the walls. They came from inside my own mind. "Elara!" I sat bolt upright, clutching the blanket. The voice wasn't Kalen's. It was deeper, colder, carrying centuries of power. "Do you know who he is? Do you know what he carries inside him?" I pressed my hands to my ears, but the voice pushed through like molten iron. "He is my son." My breath caught. Who are you?" The candlelight flickered violently. The shadows stretched, forming a shape at the far end of the room. Tall, cloaked, crowned with jagged horns. The air thickened, pressing against my chest, suffocating. "I am the Shadow King," the voice thundered. "The blood that runs through Kalen's veins is mine. The curse that chains him is mine. And so, bride, you are mine as well." I stumbled back, shaking. No, I don't belong to you." He laughed, a sound like shattering glass. "Do you think you saved him? Your kiss, your loyalty. Pitiful sparks against a fire I set long before you were born. His fate is sealed. And yours, little human, is to be dragged into the dark with him when he falls." Tears blurred my vision. Why me? Why was I chosen? The shadow loomed closer, its voice wrapping around me like chains. "Because the unwanted are easiest to break." A cold wind ripped through the room. The candles snuffed out. The shadow vanished. The door slammed open. Kalen stood there, chest heaving, his crimson eyes wild with fury. He scanned the room, then locked onto me. "You saw him." I shook my head, trembling. I heard him, he was here." Kalen crossed the room in a blur, seizing my arms. His grip was desperate, almost painful. "What did he say to you?" My voice cracked. He said you're his son. That he cursed you. That I'll be dragged down with you when you fall." Kalen's face twisted, anguish flashing before he masked it. He turned away, his fists clenching so tight his knuckles bled. "He's testing you," he muttered. "Trying to poison you against me. If you believe him, he wins." I shook my head violently. "He didn't need to poison me, Kalen. He told me the truth, didn't he?" He spun back to me, his eyes burning with a fire that was equal parts fury and fear. "Yes, he is my father. He cursed me before I was born. And he will not rest until I'm destroyed." His voice broke, softer now. "And now he wants you too." Silence stretched, heavy as stone. For the first time I realized the truth. This wasn't just about Kalen's curse. I was part of the war between father and son. And the battlefield was my soul. The storm had not yet broken, but I could feel it building in the air, heavy and restless. The castle groaned under its weight, as though even the stone walls knew something was coming. Kalen had locked himself away after his father's whisper. His silence was worse than his anger, worse than his claws. It left me alone with my thoughts, and with the letters. They had arrived that morning, delivered by trembling servants who refused to meet my eyes. Envelopes stamped with my family's crest. I should have burned them. But instead I sat by the fire, staring at my mother's handwriting. My hands shook as I tore it open. "Elara," it read, "do not forget us. The gold is gone. Your sister says the lord you wed is wealthy beyond reason. Send us what you can. You owe us that much." My chest tightened. Not one word of love. Not one word of regret. Just demand, as though I were a coin purse they had misplaced. Anger welled up, hot and unfamiliar. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of them. I seized the quill from Kaelin's desk, my hand trembling as ink bled across the parchment. "Mother," I wrote, "you sold me. You struck me. You cast me aside like I was nothing. And now you dare to call on me for help. I owe you nothing. Do not write me again." My tears fell hot onto the ink, smearing the words, but I didn't stop. "I am no longer your daughter. Whatever I am now, bride, prisoner, cursed soul, I belong to this fate, not to you." I folded the letter with shaking hands, sealing it with the wax Kaelin had left on the desk. For the first time in my life, I had spoken the truth. When Kaelin entered later that night, his crimson eyes softened as he saw the parchment clutched in my hand. "What is that?" he asked. "My confession," I whispered. "I've told them I'm not theirs anymore." His gaze lingered on me, unreadable, but for a fleeting moment, pride flickered across his features. "You're stronger than you think, Elara," he said quietly. I looked at him, at the monster I both feared and was bound to, and realized the truth. The family who birthed me had never claimed me. But here, in this cursed castle, I had finally claimed myself. The sky split open with thunder. Rain lashed against the castle walls, lightning flashing so bright it turned night into day for a heartbeat at a time. The storm wasn't natural. It pulsed with the same dark energy that coiled through Kaelin's veins. The curse was rising. I ran through the corridors, my bare feet slipping on wet stone, the air thick with the scent of ash. Dorian's voice echoed from behind me. "Elara, you can't go near him now. He's not in control." "I don't care," I screamed over the storm. "If he falls, I fall too." At the end of the hall, the great doors to the throne room stood open. I stumbled inside and froze. Kaelin stood at the center of the chamber, his body convulsing as black veins tore across his skin. His horns had fully emerged, jagged and gleaming, his claws dripping shadow. His eyes burned hellfire red, but there was no humanity in them anymore. The storm outside shook the walls as he roared, the sound splitting the air like 1,000 voices crying out at once. "Elara!" His voice was fractured, monstrous, layered with darkness. "Leave before I kill you." My chest tightened, tears streaming down my face. He was gone, the man who kissed me, who had shown me the moonlit garden, who had bared his pain. All that remained was the beast. But I couldn't leave. Lightning shattered the stained glass windows, shards exploding across the floor. The storm was inside now, circling us both, the curse demanding a choice. Dorian's voice shouted behind me, but I barely heard it. My heart drowned out everything else. Kaelin staggered toward me, his claws dragging sparks across the stone. "Run!" he begged through snarling teeth. "No!" I whispered, stepping closer, even as my body trembled with fear. "If I run, you lose. If you lose, we both die." His eyes blazed brighter, the curse ripping through him. His body shook violently, like it would split apart. The shadows writhed around us, voices chanting, "Choose! Choose! Choose!" I reached for him, my hands trembling. His claws hovered inches from my throat, the sharp tips grazing my skin. One wrong move and he would end me. But instead of pulling away, I pressed forward until my palm rested against his chest, over his raging heart. "I choose you," I whispered through my tears. "Even if you're a monster, even if it kills me, I choose you." For a heartbeat, the storm froze. The shadows recoiled, the thunder silenced, and Kaelin collapsed into me, trembling, his horns cracking, his claws dulling, his eyes softening back into crimson embers. The storm outside broke, rain pouring steady instead of violent. The curse had bent for now. Kaelin's voice was raw, broken when he spoke. "Don't say those words unless you mean them, Elara. Because if you do..." His breath shook against my ear. "There's no turning back." And though my heart quaked in terror, I knew it was too late. I had already chosen. The storm had quieted, but the silence that followed was worse. Kaelin lay against me, trembling, his body half human, half beast. His claws had dulled, but the veins still pulsed beneath his skin, black and alive. His horns glowed faintly in the firelight, not retreating as before. The curse wasn't gone. It was waiting. I pressed my palm to his chest, tears blurring my vision. I chose you, Kaelin. Doesn't that mean anything? His crimson eyes opened slowly, pain flickering in their depths. It means everything. And nothing. What do you mean? I whispered. He struggled upright, his breath ragged. The curse is not just about love, Elara. It is about surrender. My father, the Demon King, crafted it so that no one could truly save me unless... He stopped, his jaw tight, his fists trembling. Unless what? His eyes burned into mine, molten and desperate. Unless you love me not as a man, but as the monster. My breath caught. The weight of his words pressed against my chest, suffocating. You mean? Yes. His voice broke, rough as thunder. If you cannot embrace me in my true form, horns and claws and all, then the curse will claim us both. And when it does... The torches along the walls flared violently, shadows stretching higher, twisting into monstrous shapes. The whispers returned, louder than ever, chanting, mocking. Love or damnation. Love or damnation. Kaelin's body convulsed, his horns lengthening, claws tearing through stone, wings of black shadow unfurling behind him. His face shifted, jaw cracking wider, fangs glinting in the firelight. He roared, a sound that shook the castle, rattling the very bones of the earth. I stumbled backward, terror clawing through me. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, to survive. But his crimson gaze locked onto me, pleading, begging, burning with the last shred of humanity inside him. Elara! His voice was fractured, layered, monstrous. Choose me. Now. My legs shook beneath me. My throat burned with a sob. The shadows surged around us, chains of darkness tightening, pulling him down. Choose, they hissed, or lose him forever. I stared at him, at the monster, at the man, at both. My heart thundered. My tears fell. My lips trembled on the edge of the only word that could save us both. And then, the chamber doors slammed open. A figure stepped inside, cloaked in silver fire, eyes gleaming pale as ash. His voice cut through the storm of whispers like a blade. Don't choose him, sister bride. Choose me. Kaelin's body convulsed violently. His roar shook the castle. My breath caught, my body frozen. Because standing in the doorway was the face I recognized from the whispers. Kaelin's brother. And he was worse than the monster before me.